Hello. Who's here? We got a few people here. Who's here tonight? Let me know who you are. Oh, here we go. Okay, Debbie is here. Joe is here. Hi, guys. Paula is here. I did. I had a pretty good weekend. If you watched my the Indiana Derby and the Iowa Derby, as well as the Cornhusker, hit them all. So that was good. The Bowling Green was, uh, I don't know what happened in the stretch there, but it looked all, for all important intents and purposes, Fort George was going to blow right by Old Crazy Bone, and he just didn't. But it went. It was 146. It was pretty much that's the way we saw it for the most part. I did think Old Crazy Bone could win. Today was a bad beat day. Uh, the last two races at Saratoga, I had the winner who was pulling away in the stretch and got caught at the wire, 9-1 and 6-1, two in a row, and they looked like they had it locked, and then all of a sudden, so I had a bad beat Sunday, but uh, I still made out pretty well, and I went over to Prairie Meadows for a little bit, and I tell you that track is, you're on the lead, you got it. I was That was the way it was last night, and that's the way it was today. I mean, it's just, you got on the lead, it was over, no matter what kind of horse you were. Major league speed bias. Who else have we got? Who else is here? I see 10 of you here so far. We have some wallflowers. Yeah, I agree, Joe. I like Prairie Meadows. To be quite honest, I almost went to the Iowa Derby, just because I hadn't been there before, and I like going to new places, and I thought very strongly about it. Couldn't quite make it work, and I've got a family commitment next weekend, so before you ask, I won't be at the Haskell, sadly. But yeah, I was thinking about it. I like it. As long as they put it, like I said before, as long as it's an enjoyable day of racing, that's all a track has to do to me to be a good track. And yeah, I like evening racing too. I think it's fun. I love to go to Turfway sometime. I'm smoking an Alec Bradley Kintsugi, in case anyone's wondering. And I'm drinking Tullamore Dew, Irish whiskey. How'd we make out this weekend? Anybody have some big scores? I thought it was. I will say that Bowling Green, I'd never seen Flavian Pratt stop riding a horse before, but I thought it was over. And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Wait a minute! They may catch him. What's going on? Is he throwing in the towel?" And then you look back and watch it again. And it's like he clearly stopped riding the horse, and I don't know what's going on. Was anybody poised to play the pick six today at Saratoga? That was a new one. I'd never seen that before. Uh, for those of you who don't know, the fourth race at Saratoga began the pick six. And the distance for the race, it was a maiden race for 2-year-olds, was a mile. And apparently, the jockeys in the race went to the stewards and complained about the distance being unsafe. So because they wouldn't ride in the race, Naira changed the distance to 1.16 miles. And in so doing, obviously that's a very different race than a mile. So they canceled the pick six, which had a substantial carryover, well over 100,000, as I recall. And now it's moved to Thursday. So be on the lookout. We may try to do a pick six ticket for Thursday's card at Saratoga. I've never seen anything like that. And now there's talk, jockeys like, well, we told them at like 11:30 this morning, and now they're Naira's basically putting it all on the jockeys. Like, how can you do that? Well, the fact of the matter is they had plenty of time to handle this. And I don't know that it warranted canceling the pick six. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I thought it was I thought that was a pretty shabby reason to cancel the pick six. And once again, who got screwed? The bettors did. It would have been a tough one to hit. I can say that. I don't know, Joe. It had something to do with the proximity to the turn with 2-year-olds. I don't know. I really don't know. Giving them more distance in the stretch, maybe it's I don't know. I've never heard of that before. Yeah, that's what they did, Paula. And yeah, but to me, that wouldn't be that much to alter my perception of how to bet the race. But they said, well, it's a different distance, so we're just going to cancel the pick six. And it seems like every year at Saratoga they have some kind of blunder like this. They had a pick five a couple years ago that they screwed up, and I forget what what actually happened, but it was unbelievable. It's just, and I hate to say it, but New York seems to be the only jurisdiction where this stuff just seems to always happen. And how can you have things like that at Saratoga? That's the premier meet of the year, and you didn't have enough time. To resolve that before racing started, before the pick six. You could have announced that at like race 2. Because, oh yeah, by the way, if you're playing the pick six, race 4 has been stretched to 1.16 miles. That gives people enough time to reconfigure if they want to. But that was pretty bad. I thought it was really pretty awful. But the good news is there's going to be a huge pick six carryover on Thursday's card. So that's a one silver lining to it. And I know there was a big pull in the pick five today, which for all the people who would have played the pick six, and it was a tough one. I don't even know if they hit that one. You guys are quiet tonight. What's going on? Where's Laura? Was there a big was there something going on today I didn't know about? Well, I should tell you that Matthew did get back to me. And apparently on Sunday, oh, hi, Jeannie, that No, yeah, yeah, Joe. No, it never leaves me for too long. Sad people waste it all the time. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a bad look. There's just no way around it. But what I was going to say was, I did talk to Matthew. He finally did get back to me. He got sick on Sunday. Um, And I think it's just, he said, because as we all know, he's the Energizer Bunny. He works a lot for our benefit. He's very, very busy. And he just kind of got to him. And he said, if I had gone on Monday night, I probably would have lost my voice. And so I had hoped to have him tonight. And he has not got back to me. But again, he's very busy. He may have had another work-related thing tonight. I'm hoping at some point, if he does get back to me late, he will come on. But I apologize, guys, if I misled anybody. But he's definitely going to be on. I promise you that. It's just um, it's crazy. Oh, hi, Robert. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had that one. It was a weird thing about that race, which was interesting, in that it didn't come out the way. Oh, you're welcome, Debbie. It didn't come out the run the way I thought it would, but the result was what I expected. I thought for sure. Um, I think they were resolute. The field was to not let Desert Gate get the lead. I really sensed that right from the break. They boxed him in and were not going to let him get out. And it was funny. I didn't expect JJ Gray to be on the lead. I thought he would just be off of whoever took the lead. And I thought the hell we did would be the one putting the pressure on whoever it was, and JJ Gray would benefit. And it just turned out the exact opposite. The hell we did ran the race he did in the Preakness, except this time he got a better track to work with. Although I will say Prairie Meadows is extremely speed favoring. It really was. The Cornhusker too. I mean, they both. You got on the lead. It was Navajo Warrior. That was a paid workout. I mean, he was dead. And did any of you guys watch that? In the stretch, he was literally crawling home, and they still couldn't get to him. That's how bad that race was and how bad that field was. But yeah. I wasn't aware Speed King was. I'll be honest. I didn't know Speed King was going to be running. Um, yeah, Debbie. You know what? You know what it was, and it's a great example, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Now, the same thing that did in the hell we did in the Preakness kind of did him in the Iowa Derby. I don't think the jockey paid attention to the track. Prairie Meadows. I just played a couple races today at Prairie Meadows. If you were on the lead, it was over. And both races I played, the horse on the lead won by open lengths. It's a speed favoring track. Last night it was speed favoring. And you got to know that as a jockey, which means you got to get him close and hope he's got enough. Because if you're from the back, you had no chance. And that maximum effort got up for third, but that's a total suck up third. Nobody had a chance on the front end, and I'll tell you, if you didn't know by now, Desert Gate is a bum. That horse, I don't know. I put on Twitter. I said, I don't know what Bob Baffert's going to do to find a stakes race low enough for that horse to actually win, because he's nowhere. He had every chance to win that race too. If you watched it, at the top of the stretch, he swung out and he had nothing in the tank at all. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Jamie. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean that he says that, and I tend to believe him because I just can't see where right before the race the jockeys would walk in and say, "Hey, we're not going to run. We're not going to ride um, because of the distance." It just seems like a ticky tack reason. It may have been very valid concern on their part, but you would have thought, from what they said, they told them early, and they didn't. Naira decided to act late and put it all on the jockeys, and I think that's an even worse look than if they had just said, "Yeah, we're going to change the distance." I don't know, but yeah, I was. It, you know, it's funny because I talked to Matthew when he started at Naira Bets, and of course, I knew him from Trust the Profits. And I said, if you can do anything, try to get those guys to get with the times. And one of the first things I suggested, and I think Matthew had a lot to do with it, was get the past performances out earlier. There's a lot of media entities like Right at the Wire and all kinds of people who we need to see those early because our public is demanding content right away, and it promotes your races. Because Aqueduct or Naira in general, they used to put the past performances out on Thursday for years. I mean, and I told you guys last week, when even the there were so often we'd be just like chomping at the bit, like can't wait 5 o'clock past performances come out Thursday night so we can get a look. And they finally relented, for the most part. Now they've been putting out the past performances early. For Saratoga, they're doing a great job. They put them out on Monday for Saturday's card. They've got advance for Thursday and Friday, I believe, are already out. And I think Matthew had something to do with that, about explaining to them what they needed to do. But one of the, he's got a, I mean, I hope he's talking to them about, guys, these looks are just real. And like every year there's something with Naira, and it just seems like they were just bringing them kicking and screaming into the 21st century. The coupled entries, I think they did away with them this year. Saratoga used to hate it every year, the 1 and 1A. One of them you liked, one of them you didn't like, and they both go off at 3-2 for Chad Brown. And I think they've done away with that. I don't know for sure. And all the MTOs when the races come off because of the rain, you handicap a race with 12 horses in it on the turf, and then all of a sudden, you're back to 5 horses on the dirt. And but that's weather. I mean, there's not much they can do about that. But these little things that I don't understand why there's not somebody sitting there going, "Hey guys, this is a bad look. We're on national TV. America's Day at the races." And Andy certainly works for Naira. God bless him. He was very candid about how it sucks. So was Richard Migliori, and good for them. But it's just so, the disconnect between the powers that be. I mean, it's just, you got to wonder how these things happen. I can't understand how anybody sanctioned doing that. How's the betting app doing, Jamie? Doesn't get it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said on X. I said they can't find a rate that he'll be running in ungraded stakes in California. Because it's amazing to me. He has no heart. And I will say this: that's been one of the issues with a lot of Bob Baffert's lately. Arabian Night, he had no heart. Arabian Lion classically had no heart. Madigan Road had a lot of heart, but it wasn't good enough. You know, he'll whatever race they put him in, the Amsterdam or one of the sprints at Saratoga or even on Haskell Day, if they put him in one, he'll run his race and he'll probably be good enough for second. But yeah, he's really. But you know what? It also says, yeah, hey, nowhere, man. How are you? I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Can you tell me your name again so I don't have to call you nowhere, man. I think I get the reference, but I don't want to be derogatory. It's your jobs. Stu. Okay, Stuart. That's right. Stuart, the proper Scottish way. That's right. So I'm sorry, Stuart. Um, yeah. I mean, at least try. I mean, Desert Gate last night. I mean, he had every single chance. And we talk about handicap. That's something that, aside from like when you're watching a race replay, obviously you want to look for a horse who keeps at it when he has trouble and is able to prevail, or has a tough trip and is still able to show some fight in the end. But the other thing you want to look for too is when you watch a racing, if the horse just doesn't show any zeal or any heart. Yeah, right, Robert. He quit. Exactly. I mean, I picked that off about that horse early. I said he just doesn't have any heart. But what I was going to say was, what it also is an indictment of the 2-year-olds that we don't get to see the best in the crop until they're 3. Because these Breeders' Cup juveniles the last couple of years haven't turned into anything. So, and also, that's why I'm not going to be real excited when Ted Noffey comes back. Because who'd you beat? That none of those 2-year-olds turned into anything. They're saving all the good 3-year-olds that they're debuting them in January. And I really hope this was the year that tells them we got to go back to the old school of racing them at 2 and building that foundation, because certainly might have been a different result in this year's Triple Crown, I think. Think about, I mean, Further Ado looks great right now. I mean, think about if he had a little more foundation, he might have done a little better. Could have been. Chief Wallaby, Commandment. The Puma's going to run in the Haskell. We'll see with him, right? I mean, because I had questions about him at 1 1/8. So I'm hoping this year. There she is. Now, don't you gaslight me. How you doing, Laura? I will repeat. It does not mean I hate these horses or I don't like them. When I say I criticize them. Now, Desert Gate I'm not real fond of, but he's a horse and I don't hate him. Ted Noffey certainly has talent. I question how far he can go with it. I got some real questions about that. Because 1 1/16 and 1 1/8 are 2 different distances. They're really big. There's a big difference. And when you're racing it too, if you have class, and you've got a natural advantage over quite a few 2-year-olds. That's why a lot of these trainers put these, you find a lot of horses who win stakes at 2 years old running in claiming races. Because you got to wait till they start maturing a bit to really determine how good they're going to be. But where's Father Sean? Father, Sean, Tyler, where are you guys? Did anybody? I'll repeat. Did anybody have any good scores yesterday or today, this weekend, Friday? Like, perhaps. Yeah, you do. Look at this. Great minds think alike, and fools never differ, as I like to say. I hope the new foals, sires, have been supplemented with Wheaties because it seems the last few years have been dismal, or maybe I'm getting old. Um. Oh, Robert, good. Good. I had a nice on Saturday. I had a nice pick three. The seventh and the eighth race. Any of you guys who saw my got my full card selections? No, I had a 9-1 shot who won handily in the seventh race, and then I followed up with Sunday Boy at 6-1, who was one of my value plays. So I got those two, and it ended up being a pick three. It paid pretty nice. So I had a good day, despite the Bowling Green, who my prime choice didn't win, but I still was able to get the try and the exacta out of it. But uh, let's see, I went with Pratt. Yeah, he did. I was saying to these guys earlier, Robert. I was really surprised that you don't see something like that from Flavian Pratt, but he totally stopped riding that horse. Great minds think alike, too. Yes. I had the single and exacta straight on Bowling Green and picked JJ Gray for the other one. Yeah, good, Robert. Yeah, I did. Actually, I have to say, all three of my posts about the Indiana Derby, the Iowa Derby, the Cornhusker, and even the Bowling Green pretty much went to form what I expected would happen. Um, but and like I said, uh, but yeah, I had a nice pick three, seventh and eighth race. Getting those overlays, you got to love that. They were my value plays, and they both won, and so that made up for a little bit of disappointment. And today was I literally had two. I was telling these guys I had two bad beats in a row in the eighth and ninth race at Saratoga. I had a 9-1 shot, hard circle in the eighth race, who was drawing off, had it locked, and all of a sudden the Pletcher horse comes from out of nowhere and nails him at the wire. And the very next race, I had a 6-1 shot, who had a clear 2 or 3 length lead, and he got caught at the wire. 2 in a row, bad beats. Brutal. Let's see. Okay, Joe, with Prairie running late races, Alex, what is the longest day of races you've ever played? Oh, I do it all the time. I next week when Del Mar opens up, that's my favorite thing. Is playing the spa, all day, and then when the spa's over, going right to Del Mar. I love playing Del Mar late. I love that period between like 6 and 9 o'clock. I love it. That's like one of my favorite things to do. Is late Turfway having night racing. Um, they'll go to like 11 o'clock, I think it is. Downs after dark, they'll go to 11 o'clock. That's probably about as late as Cinnaboya Downs. We used to play Ask Downs Monday and Tuesday nights. They go to like 10, 11 o'clock. If you really want to go crazy, then you can play Hong Kong. I never have, but you can play like Hong Kong. I think it starts at like midnight. I'm not sure about that, but Hong Kong is a lot of like professional players. They play big time Hong Kong. I haven't yet. I've been meaning to. I'd like to play Sha Tin, but and then you got Australian racing, and you got a lot of the simulcast. Twin Spires, I think, offers it, so you can go. You can go virtually 24 hours on certain days if you wanted to. I don't advise it. I think that's when you get a little dippy after a while. But yeah, you can. Yeah, I know, Jamie. How do you spot a long shot horse in a maiden race like today in race 7 and 9, where you have little information about the horse? Okay, Jimmy. And Jimmy, you got the card, right? Had a couple of nice ones in there for you, huh? Long shots in maiden races. Good. Long shots in maiden races come down to a couple of things. I told you guys once I had a race that I think it was at Churchill Downs, and I hit this horse exothermic at 58-1. And he was overlooked. I still don't know how I got him. He was on the extreme outside of the 12 hole, and he was by Empire Maker, I believe. I thought he was by Hartsman, but he apparently was by. I went back and looked it up. And it was just one of those things that he just was under the radar enough. Usually when you get a long shot in one of those races, there's a very heavy favorite. And more often than not, it can be because he's a first-time starter with a really glossy pedigree, has great connections and all that good stuff. Who doesn't run? Who doesn't fire? How do you spot him? I mean, well, I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you exactly why that long shot hit today. Horacio de Paz has been hot, and he was under the radar. Horacio de Paz is a very good trainer, but he's not good with first-time starters. But this year he is. He hit a big one. He hit that beautiful Carly on, I think it was on Saturday. And then today he hit another one at 18-1. Now, I remember looking at that horse, and the one thing I was thinking about using that horse was that it was Horacio de Paz. So paying attention to hot barns, because when a barn is hot, it doesn't matter what the percentages are for the trainer. The barn's hot, the barn's hot. And that was a case of it today with Horacio de Paz, with Professor Plum. That horse is a real handful, he was saying afterwards. So horses who are difficult to handle, sometimes their work tab doesn't reflect how good they are because they won't work the way they're supposed to. But I think it was more of a case of it could very well be. Oh, and hi, Tyler. Good to see you. Could very much be a case of he was gearing up for the meet when he hadn't before. Like Mark Casse last year. Mark Casse came to Saratoga red hot. He was geared up and ready for Saratoga, and he caught a lot of people flat-footed, including yours truly. Because Mark Casse's always been a good trainer, but his barn was revved up and ready. That's why guys like Phil Antonacci, he pulled through one in there today. You got to pay attention to. With Phil Antonacci, it wasn't that much of a surprise because he ships very well, and he's very good with first-time starters. And if you understand, you know that he is gearing up for Saratoga. Now, there's another trainer that John Stetton was very big on pointing out, and I totally agree with him, is Jimmy Bond. Jimmy Bond is a Saratoga operation. Small farm, but he gears for Saratoga. He'll throw a long shot in there. I'll guarantee you in one of these races. So that's important. You got to know the trainers who gear for the meet. Then there's little things. Now, I'll give an example. And it's not a great example, but it's an example. Jenna Antonucci is notoriously very slow with first-time starters. Does not do well. She likes to get a race in them. Well, in the second race, she had Ariel Affair, who was by Flightline. And if you just went by her percentages, you would say that horse needs a race because it's Jenna Antonucci. But that work tab was sparkling. One sharp 5 furlong work after another with a bullet in there. Now, when you see that, or Ian Wilkes is another one, he takes his time. He lets them build. But when you see a really sharp work tab on a trainer who doesn't normally have good first-time starters, he's probably got a really good horse. That Flightline horse, Ariel Affair, I don't know if you guys watched the race, but he was acting up in the paddock. He was crazy, jumping all over the place. He was hard to load in the gate, and he hopped at the brake, but he put a move on at the top of the turn, man. I thought he was going to blow that field away. Super, super athletic move. But he flattened out because he broke poorly. But that was a Jenna Antonucci horse, but it was a Flightline. And the work tab. So he was no secret. So it's not a great example of a long shot. But that's what I mean about when you see irregularities like that. When you see a trainer reach out for a jockey he normally doesn't use, who's pretty good, that should be an indication. If you see Irad Ortiz on a horse who doesn't look like he's got very much, probably does. And it's contextual. You got to look at all the other horses in the race. And, obviously the ones who have the great first-time starter sires, everybody's going to know. You're going to be really hard to find one. But if you look for those little things, like, for instance, on Brisnet, they offer the dam information. The dam information is more important than the sire information in a lot of respects. If you see a dam sire who's very good with first-time starters, that's a good thing. The second thing is how many starters has the dam had? Let's say she's had 3 starters, 3 winners, 2 stakes winners, and they all won at 2. Because Brisnet tells you that. If it says 100% 2-year-olds, that means all her foals won at 2 years old. That's a precocious dam. That means their horses are going to come out ready to roll. They've got it in their blood to do it. You couple that with a first-time starter who's pretty good. And I've told you guys, I had a horse named Blackened. It was the greatest first-time starter mare I've ever seen. I mean, she had like 9 foals, 7 winners, and like 6 won first time out. That horse won by like 6 lengths, and most people missed it. I got him at like 9-2. Couldn't believe it. Blackened, I believe, was his name. So when you see stuff like that, a lot of people don't see that. Don't use Brisnet. They use the racing form. They're not going to see that. And then it's steady work tab. The more works they have, the better. And that's when you find a long shot. It's not easy. The first-time starter long shots are not easy to find. But when you do, I mean, let's see. All right. Okay, let's see. Tyler. Hi, Tyler. Good to see you. Alex, has there been a horse that won a big race that just went against every single thought and process you had on it? A horse that was completely opposite of how you handicap? Any come to mind? Sure. In all humility, it doesn't happen often. Where I'm not surprised, where I'm surprised. Let's say that. I may not bet a horse, but I'll look and go, yeah, I can see it, why he won the race. There was a horse, and I cannot remember his name. He won it 80 something to 1 at Churchill Downs, and he came, I think it was Churchill Downs, he came out of nowhere in the stretch. And I went back, and anytime that happens, I go back and look at the PPs and go, was there something I missed? In that case, that was just they hit him. The trainer hit him really well. Nothing you can do. Sometimes they do that. You know, that these guys are cagey. They know when they've really got something. They know how to hide it. A lot of times they'll work them out like real early in the morning before anybody can time it. Stuff like that. Doesn't, you know, when you just shake your head and go, hey, I missed it. I mean, there's not 80 to 1. I mean, you know, obviously it was you had to know. So if that happens, I don't sweat it. I just say, hey, they beat me today. There's nothing I can do about it. I compare the barn like a professional boxing training camp. I think certain farms feed horses much better quality food. That's extremely accurate, Robert. That is a huge part that's overlooked. Is, you know, John Stetton used to own horses, and he talks about it. They used to claim horses from guys who wouldn't fed their horses low quality feed. They cut corners, that type of stuff. He'd claim them, bring them in, feed them well, and then you get a different horse. So yeah, that's really big. So of course, the big time operations, that's a big part of it, you know. And they claim some of the, like Steve Asherson, he can claim those low end horses who coming from small barns and build them right up. I remember Magnitude acted up at the gate at the Stephen Foster, and an old timer said Sovereignty is in trouble because he was ready to go, and there weren't. There went my night. It happens. It happens. But again, let's remember the surface. Remember what Tim was saying about the surface at Churchill Downs? It may have been against any horse coming from off the pace. And it was pretty clear Sovereignty didn't like it. Are all the dam's offspring info on the PPs also as to if they won at age 2? On Brisnet, they are, Paula, yes. If you look on the right-hand side of a Brisnet past performance for 2-year-old or maiden races, first-time starters, on the right-hand side, they have the sire first-time starter percentage and then the dam sire first-time starter percentage. Then they have the dam information, how many starters she's had, how many won, how many stakes winners, and then the percentage that have won it that raced at 2. So those things are going to tell you a lot about how classy that horse is. How about Golden Tempo? I don't know if he was that much of a surprise. Fairway, I don't. Again, as I always ask, please tell me what your name is so I don't have to call you by your handle. And I know I've probably asked you before, and I apologize, I can't remember. But senior moment. But yeah, you can tell me what your name is. Golden, I don't think it was much of a surprise. I mean, he ran that maiden race is what I got interested in him because that you just don't see a horse close from the clouds like that at 6 furlongs. You know, that takes talent. You've got to have talent to do that. Okay, let's see. Can you explain the X1 in female line? I think what you're asking about, Paul, if I'm not mistaken, is the 1X female family. All the female families are assigned a number and a letter. And the original way they classified mares was by how many female families, that is, how many stakes winners each family produced. So if you had the most stakes winners, you got female family number one, the next most number two, and so on and so forth. It obviously doesn't hold bearing anymore, but that's the way they did it originally. Now, some families you're going to see every year pop up. And one of them is the 1X female family. Now, that is a very special female family. That is the La Troyenne female line. When a mare is exceptional, they become what's called a blue hen mare. They're kind of like a chef de race. They call them Rennes de course. It's the same as a chef de race for sires. And they give them their own female family. So they're in number female. She was in family number one, but because she was so prolific and so influential, they gave her her own female family and called it 1X. In fact, you know what? Let's pull it up. I'll show it to you. Just bear with me a second. Okay, now I'm gonna share the screen. So I'll show you. Okay. Okay, can you see that? Okay. This is the pedigree of La Troyenne. And I've shown you guys this before from Pedigree Query. Now you read down here from Green Tree Stable, which is a famous breeding operation way back, and one of the most influential breed shaping mares in history, designated Rennes de course mare. That's, again, like a chef de race. Maternal line is active through all 9 daughters, most notably Big Hurry and Baby League. She was the dam of Black Helen and Bimelech. Bimelech finished second in the Kentucky Derby. Okay, so just her offspring. So there's her pedigree. Now, Teddy was an English or French horse, but was very influential. And you go back and you see this line: Ajax, Triple Crown winner; Flying Fox, I think, was a Triple Crown winner; Orme and Ormond. That's a very famous line that comes from England. And then you see her. Now, her female family was Helene de Troyes, was her her mother. But you see up here, you hope you can see it, where right by her name, off to the right, you see that in parentheses 1X. And look at her dosage profile. It's all classic, 16 all classic distance. So you look at her progeny, and I know it's small, but Baby League, Bimelech, Black Helen, those, and from them, like, and you go by their progeny, and you go down, and you see Busher, who there's a stakes race named after. That's and that was a dam. And you see Busher is a Hall of Famer, Horse of the Year, champion handicap female, and champion 3-year-old filly. So then you look at her progeny. Well, maybe wasn't the greatest example of it, but anyway. So that's I hope that explains it. That's what the 1X female family is. When you see uh, Pretty Mischievous was from the 1X female family. And I forget who else was from it this year, but it's a very, 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 very influential family. When you see horses from the 1X female family, you take them extremely seriously. Smarty Jones was from the 1X female family. Big time, big time. And that's a horse that I don't care how they run. When I'm looking at the Kentucky Derby, if they get into the Derby, you put them on the ticket because they have a ton of class, and they're likely going to get the distance where a lot of horses won't who aren't as classy. So, lights out female family, like automatic include. So, hope that explains it. Let's see. Yes, I did see White and Barrier will never run on a. Yeah, I did see that. We'll see what happens if it rains at the Whitney. Okay. Golden Temple Pedigree was one of the best in the field, which is what led me to put him on the win ticket. Yeah. For the Triple Crown, Pedigree, it's not so important for the Preakness, but it is for the Derby and the Belmont, especially the Belmont. Next year, Pedigree is going to mean a lot more than it did this year because they're going to run it at the true 1.5 distance. Jose followed his brother at the Derby and Belmont, and the rest is history. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Jamie asks, how do you handicap a race like a $5,000 claimer at Assiniboia Downs when all the horses are very similar? Very good question, Jamie. Good, Paul. I'm glad. Well, they're not the same. It seems that way. Well, you got to. Here's the thing with small tracks, right? None of them can run, right? That's why they're there. They can't run. You look at them. If you ever go to a small track like Suffolk Downs, I used to go to, and you go and you see the horses up close, and you go like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this horse is even running." None. It's not like Saratoga or Churchill Downs or somewhere like that. You go and like you see a smorgasbord. All the horses look different. You can't even tell them from the same breed. They're so different. The conformations aren't good. Some of them are really small. Some of them are like big and but goofy. Um, so what you look when you like Assiniboia Downs, it to me is a really big handicapping challenge. I hate anytime you see a short price at Assiniboia Downs. It, to me, is a well, no, I shouldn't say I hate it. I love it because I'm like I definitely want to beat him. Because could you really take a horse at 3-5 at a small track like Assiniboia Downs? Is he that much better than everybody else? No, right? So you automatically your radar should be up. I've got to find a price. That's the way I look at it. Do they sometimes win? Yeah, they do. But have I got as good? Have I got a better shot at beating a 3-5 horse at Assiniboia Downs or at Saratoga? Assiniboia Downs, right? Because it's going to be about class. Class is smaller tracks. Class is super important. You'll see a lot of times, like if you play Mountaineer and a New York horse comes in, they immediately bet the shit out of them because they're from New York, so their class level is inherently higher. So I pay a lot of attention to that. Where do they run before? And again, the Brisnet past performances. What were the race ratings? What kind of races were they running in, and what was their class rating? How did they do against that competition? Then you try to compare it. Well, what's this field like he's running in? Is it as good, or is it better, or is it worse? Then you're not going to be able to use certain things like a work tab. They're not going to have good regular work tabs. None of them do, because they're good. They're racing. They're not working. They're going to race every 2 weeks. So you're not going to see work tabs. So a lot of it's going to be the hot barn. I mean, the Cinnabon Downs. There's a couple guys. Was it Martin Buffalo? I believe his name was. There's a couple of barns when they get hot. You and who's what jockey is on them. They got to. It's been a couple of years, so I've forgotten. But they're White Soul, I think, was one of them, and there was another guy. It's like if they were on the horse, they just knew how to ride ass downs really well. You don't have as many tools in your toolbox as you do at the smaller tracks, but class to me really is very, very important. And again, trainer intent. Now an angle. That's right, Whitehall. You're right, Jamie. Thank you. Here's another thing. Like for Assiniboine Downs, this is unique to Assiniboine Downs and nowhere else that I'm aware of. They don't run the longer races until later in the meet. Antonio Whitehall, that's right. Thank you, Laura. Until later in the meet. So a lot of those horses, you're going to see their past performances. They run at a mile, 2-turn races. And all of a sudden they're running at a 6 furlong or a 5 furlong race at Assiniboine Downs. There's only one reason they're doing that, because they haven't scheduled the 2-turn races yet. So it's a warm-up. So that's a great angle. He needs more ground. He's more comfortable at 7 furlongs or a mile. And don't forget, at Assiniboine Downs, they run 7 furlongs around 2 turns. So that's a great angle. A lot of times I'll go, oh, he's only here to get a tune-up for the mile races later. So that's an angle that's unique to Assiniboine Downs. Another thing to think about is how big a track have they been running at before? Assiniboine Downs is a bull ring, like Charlestown, right? It's tight turns. Some horses aren't going to like it. If they've been running at Belmont, or not many, but I mean at the bigger tracks, if they've been running it like Oaklawn, you'll see horses at Assiniboine Downs come up from Oaklawn. Robertino Diodoro brings horses to Ass Downs every once in a while, and he's an Oaklawn trainer. That might be an angle. They may not be able to handle the tight turns. You notice in the Assiniboine Downs race how wide they come? Because it's the centrifugal force, because it's such a tight little track. That would be something I'd be thinking about. It's a little thing, but it can make a difference. So to me, for smaller tracks, for Assiniboine Downs especially, class. Think about class. Okay. Have you ever not bet a Kentucky Derby? No. Yes, that's right. You get the idea, right? Belmont's the biggest track in Belmont and Colonial, I believe, are the biggest tracks in the States. That's why, like if you think about like Belmont, for instance, the new one is, if it's the new track is the same dimensions as the old one, why does speed win at Belmont so much? Look how wide or the turns are. It doesn't. If you're on the lead, it's not going to take you a lot to bank around the turn. So you're not going to use a lot of energy or strain your ankles, because it's a big, wide track. So you can stay on the lead, no problem. But if you're a horse for the course at Belmont, you may not be at a smaller track because of that little thing like that. I am not going to miss Aqueduct either, as I've said. Um, no, they didn't. You're right, Robert. It's a total. The last time I went for the Remsen in December, and I hated it. I couldn't get over. I was so disappointed. I went the last time I'd been there was 20 years ago for the Wood Memorial when No Biz Like Showbiz won it. I think it was 2007. And it was kind of run down then, but the last time it was awful. Oh, it was brutally bad. I like I said, I'd swing the wrecking ball myself. Really, really disappointing. I'm glad it's gone. New Belmont looks like it's going to be awesome. Who here has been to the Kentucky Derby? Not I. Me either, Debbie. I have not been. And to be quite honest, it's on the bucket list, but I don't know that I want to deal with the insanity and the crowds. It's tough. I've been to the Belmont many times. Or the Travers. That's as tough as I want to get. It's a shit show. I don't want to do it. Let's see. Joe says, I know Fauna Park runs a bunch of four. Yeah, they do. I mean, some of these tracks, Prairie Meadows, I believe, runs quarter horses for a couple of races. Remington Park has a whole quarter horse season, as Los Alamitos does as well. I'm very against those 2-year-old 4.5 furlong debuts. The Wesley Ward wins all of them. That's not any indication of any type of talent. And Wesley Ward has had plenty of those horses everybody got really excited about, and then they never do anything. The reason is that Wesley Ward is extremely good at teaching his horses how to break. They all break very sharply. Well, if you break well at a 4.5 furlong race, you're going to be 2 or 3 lengths ahead. And then if you can maintain your speed, you got it. Doesn't mean anything to me. Oh, you went to the Breeders' Cup last year? Okay. I'm going to try to go to Keeneland this year. But if I don't go for the Breeders' Cup, I will definitely go in the fall. Breeders' Cup would be a different animal. But Breeders' Cup, you're going to get real horse players. You're not going to get crazies, I would think, would be my guess. Some people are going to be there for the party, but that's just my guess. Let's see. Insane prices as well at the Kentucky Derby yeah. I mean, before I die, will I probably go to the Derby? Yes. But I'd rather go to the Haskell and see the great 3-year-olds at Monmouth. If you haven't been to Monmouth, Monmouth's a really nice track. I liked Monmouth a lot. I went last year. The Travers, Saratoga, second only to Keeneland. Derby weekend. It did. See, the Derby Museum is great. I really liked it. When I was at Keeneland, I drove over to Louisville just so I could go to see Churchill Downs, and I went to the museum. I thought it was pretty cool. But the National Museum Racing Hall of Fame is right across the street from Saratoga, and you want to go to that. That's really cool. And for those of you who like pedigree, there's this chart they have in the Hall of Fame. It's a spiral, and it shows you the descendants all the way back from when they started. It's really cool. I took a picture of it. I'll post it someday. Wouldn't be easy to read, but it's pretty cool to take a look at. Tom Durkin gives tours. I met him there a couple years ago. Saw him again at Saratoga last week. You guys got to go to Saratoga. If you haven't been before, you got to go. You got to go. Put it on your list of thoroughbred horse racing, Keeneland, Saratoga, and then one of those two. Got to do it. Said Joe. What were your thoughts on the Quinella payouts at Prairie? I have not played one in a while, but those prices seem decent. To say, I didn't pay attention to it, Joe. I'm sorry. I wish I could answer that. Quinella, I don't know. I just never got in the habit. It's actually not a bad bet. When I started, before I did horse racing, I used to go to Newport Highlight every once in a while and then play the Quinella because it seemed like it's Highlight, South American, Latin. I don't know. It's not a bet that's offered everywhere. I just play exactas. I don't know. If you hit, I mean, I have no objection against the Quinella as a bet. I mean, it takes a little bit of the legwork out for you, but you bet your ass it is, Janie. Do you think Further Ado has a shot? Sure. Got to see the field. They're going to draw it Tuesday, so you'll have my post for you'll likely have my post on like Wednesday or Tuesday night. I think he's got a shot. Yeah. He seems to be. Oh, stop it, Laura. I think he has a shot. Sure. He seems to be heading in the right direction. And again, this could be an example like Gun Runner. Later in the year, he gets better, growing, putting on muscle. Yeah, he's got a shot. Sure. I may bet him. I'll have to take a look. I'll bet 2 assets. I don't know what that means. Looked at the Prairie Meadows car, was very light. Well, it's Iowa. It might have been planting season. I don't know. I don't know. I don't mean that. From what I've heard, and I do know people who have been there for the Cornhusker Festival, it's actually a lot of fun. And they're really nice. So Uncle Sully, our favorite uncle, he plays Prairie Meadows. Remington Park looks pretty good too, out in Oklahoma. I'm very interested in those Midwest tracks. I just because you don't have the. It's just racing, let's say. Just racing. That's all. I'm and I like going different places. So I just like going to. I like traveling. Canterbury, yeah. I got a very good friend of mine went to college with, owns horses, Ted Gravelis. He's the founder of the Midwest Paddock Report. And he's up there. And great guy. Super, super guy. He and I. Now, here to tell you a little funny aside. He was very good friends with one of my college roommates, Stats Mooney. What a character. Great kid. And sadly, he's gone now because he had cystic fibrosis. But I didn't know about Ted or Stats. They were totally into horse racing while I was in college. Never knew it. And they used to go to Rockingham Park, Suffolk Downs all the time. And I never knew it. Years later, farting around on some site, and there's Ted Gravelis. I go, holy shit. So I messaged him. I said, hey, Ted, been a long time, whatever. And he goes, yeah. He's been into horse racing for years. He owns horses. And so I have been threatening to go up to Canterbury to see him. They used to have the Claiming Crown there. Churchill Downs has it now, but Canterbury did for a long time. That they have night racing too. And looks like a fun place. I don't, these smaller tracks. I think you're crazy if you don't do racing at night on these smaller tracks. I love night racing. Night racing to me is a lot of fun. What's the potato harvest, Laura? Where do they do that? You're thinking Idaho, not Iowa, right? How's your reading coming, Laura? How are you doing? Yep. I Did you guys hear about that tractor building in Arizona? $500 million they're putting into it because apparently there's a section of Arizona that's really flourishing right now. So they're going to put in a racetrack. I think that's great. I have family out there too. It'd be an excuse to go out. I think it's really going to be something, and they're going to race at night probably because of the heat. So be a fun track. They're going to give. I don't know what's going to happen to Turf Paradise, but I remember seeing some fun races at. Yeah, I gotta say this about the Louisiana tracks. I don't really like bull rings. They're a little too small. Um, I'm not like if we played Trust the Prophets. We played Evangeline Downs a couple of times. Just can't get into it. Delta, I just can't get into it because that's really low end. Like I don't know. I fairgrounds and that's it for Louisiana for me. Um, let's see. What's Tyler asking me? Sorry if you brought it up already. Did you hear back from the guest last week? Yes, Matthew was sick. I talked to him, and he said that basically, we all know how busy he is and how much energy he devotes, and sometimes you just, your body tells you to shut down. And he got sick, and he said I could have gone on Monday night, but I wouldn't have been able to speak. I probably would have lost my voice, and so we're going to get him back. I was hoping it would be this Sunday. And he said he's very much looking forward to coming on, but he's extremely busy. So, but we'll get him. And if anything, what we'll do is I'll do something pre-recorded with him, and then we'll post it, and we can get follow-up questions or something like that if it comes to it. But I would rather do it live if we can. So yes, we're endeavoring to do it, and he's okay. He's fine. Yeah, yeah, Debbie. I mean, Texas is. Well, it's its own animal right now. I remember when they did the Breeders' Cup at Lone Star Park in 2004, and it was a pretty cool track. I mean, Ghost Zapper won that day. Roses and May was in second. Pleasantly Perfect was in third, and I mean that's three heavy duty talents right there. That was a hell of a race. But a lot of people have talked about Sam Houston. I have never played it, and if I could watch the races, I would. But they've got their reasons. I kind of understand it a little bit, and as long as they're able to subsist, well, they can do what they want, I suppose. Let's see. Get caught up here. Bull rings are hard on the horse. I think they are. They're tight turns. There used to be a place in California called the Fairplex, California State Fair every year. I think it was in Fresno. I'm not sure. I used to love playing that because it was a bull ring track, and any of the horses who came from Santa Anita or Del Mar to run there it was like lights out, But and it was yeah, but they're really, to me, if you think about it, if when the tight turns, it's going to be tough on the ankles. That's the way I look at it. Oh, a mile and a half would be like six turns for a bull ring track. Go Zappa was pretty unbelievable that day. Yeah, me too, Tyler. Me too. I would love it, and the fact that they're not going to build a stadium on the old Arlington Park is really criminal. And I know they never will, but it'd be really nice if they just said, well, we'll just build a new Arlington Park on top of where it used to be. But, the Bears, I guess, are going to Indiana now, which is really astonishing. Yeah, it'd be really nice if they had a try. Chicago is, I've never been, I've been only in O'Hare, but that city has everything that I like, and it's criminal that I haven't been there yet. And that would be, I want to go to the Arlington Million every year for a long time. And all of a sudden I was like, they closed Arlington? And I was all set to be honest, like the year I had it all set to go, it was gone. And it was one of my favorite racing days of the year was the Arlington Million. Yeah, and Deb, they in Texas, we can't see the races because they won't subscribe to HISA, as I recall. So you can't unless you're in Texas, you'll never see the races. Is the way I understand it. I may be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've. If I look at Twin Spires, which I subscribe to, and I'm pretty sure if I look down the list here, yeah, they don't have any of the races for Texas. Unless you're in Texas, then you can see them. That's the way I understand it. Don't count. I'm not a source on that. I may be wrong completely, but I'm pretty sure I just lost my track this year, and it is painful. They're trying to put together a fall meet, but if they don't, all the race books in the province will close. Is that at Hastings? Or what's in Canada? You mean, right, Laura? That's too bad. I feel for you. Pig. Tony, I haven't seen you before. Hi, Tony. Welcome aboard. Good to see you. Pigplex. It was unique, but I did pretty well at Fairplex. The meet was between Del Mar and Santa Anita. So right after Del Mar ended, if you wanted to, in Hollywood Park after it closed, I think it was, that you could play Fairplex if you wanted to play late. That was the appeal to me, was that after the Eastern tracks were closed, Fairplex was still open. Let's see. What about Hardspun made you like it? Well, I'll tell you. There were a couple things. The first thing about Hardspun was a very clinical thing. At the time, I was getting into pedigree a little bit more heavily. And the genetic strength value score, which I've told you guys about, and I think is going to start really becoming important again now that they've updated the chefs to race. And in 2007, for the Kentucky Derby, Hardspun had the highest genetic strength value of any horse in the race. He was Danzig's last great stakes winner in his last crop. And that was the first thing I said, wow, Hardspun. He's by Danzig, and he's got Alidar underneath because his dam was Turkish Tryst, who was sired by Turkoman, who was sired by Alidar. And that's your classic raise a native underneath with Alidar because Alidar was sired by Raise a Native and Northern Dancer, who sired Danzig. So that's a classic Nick. So that was the first thing. Then I was like, okay, now I want to see him run. And he won his first, I think, 4 races. And then he went to Oaklawn for the Southwest Stakes. And I've talked to you guys before about when a horse doesn't like the track and how you can tell. Hardspun was the example of how a horse who didn't like the track, because he had been winning on the lead, and the Southwest Stakes, he's on the backstretch and he's in fourth. I go, what's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden, he kicks it into high gear on the backstretch, you know, and he flattens out, and he finished fourth. And afterwards, Larry Jones, one of my favorite trainers, he trained 8 Bells as well. He's a breeder now. He said he didn't like the track. So it was a big question mark, because a lot of people were really high on Hardspun, including me. And I was like, well, maybe he was a flash in the pan at 2. He ran in the Lane's End, which is now the Jeff Ruby at Turfway. Or no, they ran it at Keeneland, because Keeneland was synthetic back then. And he ran in the Lane's End, and he rated, and he won. He pulled away. He passed. I forget who was leading the race, but he passed him, and he started pulling away in the stretch. And I said, okay, he's back, because I know he can run on dirt. Now I know he can run on synthetic as well. And so going into the Derby that year, now I'm a fan, right? I'm loving him. I know everybody's talking about Street Sense and Curlin, and Curlin came on really late in the year. The Derby, I think, was his 3rd start. And I'm looking at the field, and I noticed there's no speed in this race except for Hardspun. And I said, you know what? He could very well get on the lead and wire this field. And if you go back and watch the race, he damn near did. And the thing was amazing about it was he ran 46, 111, the same fractions we had this year. And at the top of the stretch, he was pulling away, and he was ahead of the field by like 6 lengths before Street Sense caught him. Those two were, nobody else was anywhere near him. Curlin sucked up for 3rd. He had all kinds of problems in the race. But the main thing about Hardspun there's 2 things. Number one, I like honest horses. You want a horse where every time he runs, you're going to get an honest effort. He brought it every single time. He never had a bad race, not once. They tried to rate him in the Preakness. They brought in Garrett Gomez. Some of you may not remember him. He was a great jockey who took his own life, sadly. And they tried to rate him. And he could rate, but in the Preakness, he took the lead very briefly in the stretch, and then Curlin passed him, and Street Sense did as well, and he ended up 3rd. So when we get to the Belmont, I go, even if he takes the lead, he's probably not going to win the race, because he ran outside of his class. And what I mean by that is, you guys have heard me talk about that before. Danzig was a very good sire, one of the most prolific sires. But a lot of his he wasn't necessarily known for stamina. He was known more for speed. And like 1 1/8 was like kind of the limit. But of course, with Aladar underneath, there was plenty of stamina there. But Hardspun was more of a miler. So all the running he did in those classic races, he was doing that on class. You know, just being a really classy horse. So he wasn't running in his sweet spot. And yet he still was able to compete at classic distances. That's a special horse. Finished 2nd in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Didn't want 1 1/4 miles. He beat Street Sense in the Kentucky Jockey Club. A lot of people forget that, but he beat Street Sense. And then the King's Bishop, which is now known as the Jerkins, the 7-furlong race for 3-year-olds at Saratoga, it was a thing of beauty to watch. He dueled with First Defense all the way around the track. The fractions were like 21 and 45, and just an absolute gunfight. And Hardspun pulled away in the stretch, so he finally got his grade 1. My biggest regret is they never put him on turf, because I think he could have won the Breeders' Cup Mile. That horse had turf pedigree, and he was more of a miler. And he's done very well with turf horses as a sire. So he's just a really classy horse. He was honest. He was a bit of an underdog, and he never let me down. And that I just love that horse. That's why, basically. Yeah, I mean, that was considered that was the last great breeding crop in 2007. You had Street Sense, Hard Spun, Curlin, Scat Daddy. A lot of people forget. Any given Saturday, Rags to Riches. You know, it's a great crop of 3-year-olds. I remember the Breeders' Cup Classic. They weren't even thinking about any of the older horses. It was like the 3-year-olds. You know, it was a great crop. You don't get crops like that too often. I think 1957 is another one that people always talk about because it had Bold Ruler. I think it was like Bold Ruler, Gallant Man, Round Table, just ridiculously good class. So he was just an extremely classy horse, and he could do it one turn. He could do it 2 turns. He could have run on turf. Everything you want in a great horse. You know, if he'd been born in a different year, he might have won the Triple Crown. That's how good that horse was. Think about who beat him. The only horses that beat him are Hall of Famers: Street Sense, Curlin. Pretty good. Scrappy T. Oh, good God. Oh, Debbie, I remember Scrappy T. Oh, my God, do I remember that race. Now, I'll give you a little, for those of you who don't know, and Debbie, you can back me up, but I'll give you a little backstory. The Preakness every year generally would have a Maryland bred or have a local horse would run in the race. And in fact, in 2000, Red Bullet was a Maryland bred, I think, or a local horse, and he won the Preakness. I think it was 2000. So in the 2005 Preakness, Giacomo won the Derby, and Fleet Alex, as I've said before, they had to use that horse so many times during the Derby, and he still nearly won the damn thing with a suicidal pace and everything. Finished 3rd. Well, we knew after the Derby, the Fleet Alex ain't going to be beat again. So the Preakness, you know, I was all over a Fleet Alex. Well, Scrappy T was a scrappy horse, and he went to the lead. And at the top of the stretch, he looked like he was going to get away. And he blew the turn. And as he did, a Fleet Alex was revved up and he was flying. And he had to jam on the brakes. And he damn near went down. He almost went to his knees. And he rebounded and rallied and won the Preakness by like 7 lengths, I think it was. And then he went and won the Belmont. So Scrappy T, I remember him very well. I'll never forget that race. If you guys want a treat, go back and watch the 2005 Preakness. And a Fleet Alex might have been a Triple Crown winner, but for the Derby, they had a Rabbit, Spanish Chestnut, and he really didn't have much of a chance. He had a really tough trip, but he was a great horse. Not a great sire, but he's a great horse. Tabasco Cat, okay. Let's see. I was screaming like, sure, yeah. You know, I just, not just because it's my name, but I love the Fleet Alex as a horse. He's just beautiful. He was a wonderful horse. Won the Arkansas Derby. Forgo, Joe Genie. Oh, good guy. You know, tell you a little story, a funny little story. I have a friend of mine who's a musician and his wife, and they're the cutest couple in the world. They're both like 5'1", and they're delightful people. And she has a job. She has like this dream job. She works 1 day a month, and she cleans the house for a very wealthy woman. She does a lot of other things, but that's because she can. She does it. So one day, I said, "Who is this?" She goes, "Well, she lives in Massachusetts, up in Brookline, I think it was." which is a suburb, very wealthy suburb of Boston. And she knew I was into horses, and she goes, "Oh, and she owned Forgo." I go, she owned Forgo? Are you kidding? Yeah. And I said, "Can I meet her?" I haven't got a chance to yet, but I don't even know if she's still alive. But she owned Forgo. What a horse! You want to talk about a racehorse? The way racehorses, the kind of horse they used to produce. Forgo ran against Secretariat in the Kentucky Derby, and I believe he finished third or fourth. Yeah, one of you guys, you guys corrected me before, but he was in that race. And I don't think they ran him back in the Preakness of the Belmont. I'm pretty sure they didn't. But he was a gelding. And he probably was, if not the greatest, one of the greatest handicap horses of all time. Won the Jockey Club Gold Cup multiple times. And don't forget, this is back when these horses carried weight, when it was the handicap division. You're talking about a horse who was carrying 138 pounds, spotting 20 pounds to some of those horses. Think about that, and still winning. He was a monster. Won horse of the year at least 3 times, I believe. Just a phenomenal horse. They don't build horses like that anymore who are that big and tough and durable, but he could do it. And he, in some respects, the fact that he had longevity, you can sort of put him up there, and the fact that he was able to do it for a long period of time. I think he raced at least until 6, probably longer, but phenomenal horse. Just the kind of horse that, like Hardspun, he never lets you down. He's durable. He brings it every time, and nobody can beat him. He just beats himself. That's the kind of horse I like. That's what champions are. He's not. The shape of the race isn't going to bother him. That's a champion. The only one that can beat him is himself. Secretariat, the only time he lost was what? Some bullshit foul they called him at Saratoga at 2 because they were jealous. Onion and Prove Out, he had a temperature both times, and Lucien Loren told them they probably shouldn't run him, or Turcotte told Lucien probably shouldn't run him, but they did. And the Wood Memorial when he had an abscess. And that's it. He brought it every time. He just had circumstances, that's, Man of War. I always talk about it. Man of War is not talked about enough. It seems people have seemed to, not in Kentucky. They very well know who he is, but that horse set the track record every single time he ever ran. He was 19-1, and the only race he lost, they used to have a walk-up start. In the movie Seabiscuit, where you see that rope, that's the way they used to do it. And he was turned the opposite way, but they were really jealous of him, so they sounded the gun before he was turned around and ready. And so he must have spotted the field, 10, 15 lengths at the start, and he still finished second, and he lost by that much. He set the track record for the Belmont and won it by 20 lengths, but there were only 2 horses in the race because nobody would face him. He's been forgotten, but he's right there with Secretariat as far. There's a pretty good argument for Man of War. There really is. We all saw the Belmont. The Secretary of Belmont, just a thing of beauty that never could be replicated. It was a fantastic horse. But Man of War, he's right there. I'm forgetting things every day, Jeannie, but luckily I still remember quite a bit. I've always had a really good memory for stuff. So Yeah, that's what it's all about, Jeannie, isn't it? It's a funny thing. You and I are probably roughly the same age because I grew up in the '70s, the glory years of horse racing, three Triple Crown winners, and should have been four. And it was always around. And what I mean by that is it was in the air, it was talked about, it was in the papers. They used to list, back in my day when the newspaper, they still listed the parimutuel, the results. You could look them up in the newspaper. Um, it was always around. And I tell you, I remember when, the Triple Crown was possible. Um, Seattle Slew was doing commercials. Secretariat was on the cover of Time and Newsweek, Sports Illustrated, all at the same time. Affirmed is a very underrated Triple Crown winner. He was a hell of a good horse. It was a great time for horse racing, and I wasn't there yet. But I remember my mother was, so it was always around. Let's see. Or anyone, do you ever bet with friends together on a bet at the track? Yeah, sometimes. Tim and I, when we were at Keeneland, we tried to hit the pick five. We were set. We crafted a ticket, sure. Um, Thank you, Debbie. I'm not sure about that. A little rust on it now. I'm getting older, but I will tell you guys now. I don't know. I've gone back and forth with it, but I have very much thought about us coming up with some kind of a maybe Breeders' Cup. We can talk about maybe having a mutual fund, and and what we'll do by Sunday before the Breeders' Cup, we should have the PPs and everything. We can craft our tickets right on here, and we'll come up with a pick six for, we'll determine a share price. I used to do them for my company when I was working at a company. I used to do the Derby Superfecta pool every year. It's $10 a share. We just take all the money. I'll make the ticket. We'll see how we do. We could do that. If you guys want to do that, I'd be more than happy to do it. There'll be some ground rules. And the thing is, a lot of, I bet you Laura can tell us. Andy Beyer talks about this in his book about crafting a pick six ticket amongst a group of people. And there are some ground rules. Number one, you don't bet against your own ticket. That's the first thing. You don't have your own side ticket. And the second thing is, if you don't get the horses you want on the ticket, and sometimes you got to make hard decisions, you can't bitch about it. You have every right to say, I told you so. But so there's some, we've all got to be honor among thieves, as it were, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, we can do that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'd be more than happy to do that. And we can do, we can agree on if we want to do the pick five, the pick six, or maybe, we can do we can have a lot of fun with that. Yeah. Yeah. Tell you what we can do is maybe we'll have a skull session 2 weeks before the Breeders' Cup and talk about what kind of tickets we want to do. Then when we get the PPs the following Sunday, we can go through it, and we'll start a little earlier because that'll take a while. But yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do it. Okay. Do you know what tier lists are? It would be cool to see you create a tier list for all the Kentucky Derby winners since 2000 one day. And you could rank them and give your thoughts on each. I hadn't heard of that, Tyler. Okay. Right off the top of my head, from 2000 on, I'm just going through them in my head now. Barbaro would probably be my favorite, my number one. Big Brown. I mean, Big Brown. There was no contest that year. Was it? Let's see. The last few. Well, I mean, Mystic Dan. The year he won it was a great one, but I wouldn't put him as a great Derby winner because that was sort of all the stars won. Brian Hernandez Jr. was the best jockey that day. Mystic Dan was not the best horse. Tell you what, email me like a little synopsis of what a tier list is so I can read and how it's defined. redditthewire@gmail.com. And yeah, I'll do it. We'll do it right here. I'll go right through it with you. What exchange rate are you giving me? I don't know. We'll have to take a look at what the rate of exchange is. I don't know how the Canadian dollar matches up to the American right now. I'll make it work for you so it's fair. I promise you that. Let's see. How would you get the money for the group? Oh, well. Now, that's what I mean about rules. There's a couple of things that, first of all, there has to be an honor system. You've got to trust me, which I hope you do. What I would likely do is if I was there in person, I would make the bets there, take pictures of the tickets so you can see them. You have them for your reference. Then if we, in fact, cash, I will imagine it'll be a pretty big amount that you go to the counting room. You have to pay a third in taxes. So that comes out right away. Then what we would do is you take the total amount divided by the amount of shares. And I have a thing about, I don't let, like some people want to put like, if it's $10 a share, I've had people like, oh, give me $1,000 worth. I won't let you do that. Like I cut it off at like $100 because I want this to be fun. I don't want this to be, when you start getting up into like big numbers, then people like get insane. As we know, money changes people. So I like this just to be a fun thing. So I might even cut it off and say it's $50 is the maximum I'll let you contribute. That would give you 5 shares of the total. And then what I always do is give you a list of all the participants, their level of investment. From that, we take the aggregate and you'll know what your percentage of the winnings are. So when the winnings come in, you just take that percentage and apply it to the number, the net number, and there you go. And I'll be investing too. So, I'll be part of it. But then you'll have all black and white. And like I say, I take pictures of all the tickets and I will post them on the website or on the channel. So believe me, you will know exactly what we do. I will give you a hard copy. You'll have all of it for your records. And you will get what you are entitled to a T. We can do it through Venmo, PayPal, however it works. But we'll have it all set up. But if you guys want to do that, I think the Breeders' Cup might be fun. We can try that. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, send me the link. Well, I don't know about that, Paula. Because if you remember, now I'll tell you, one of the things that was a mystery to me for a long time, and I don't know why I didn't know this, was what the problem was in the Belmont with Big Brown. Because he won the Derby from the 20 hole so easily. And then he won the Preakness extremely easily. And then all of a sudden, the Belmont, he didn't even show up. He ran awful. He had foot problems. He had major league foot problems from what I understand. The Tara won that day at 43-1, I think it was, for Nick Zito. That horse literally crawled home, just like Navajo Warrior did in the Cornhusker. And they couldn't catch him. That's how bad that Belmont was. I don't know that DeSormo had anything to do with that. What if we don't win? That's what I mean about rules. One of the rules I have is no bitching, because I'm going to be investing too. So if we don't win, everybody's hearts and flowers until the bottom line, right? So, hello, John. Hadn't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Saratoga has been particularly difficult thus far. If you're profitable, do you see it evening out? Mott and Pletcher heat up. So Pletcher heated up today. He beat me. Oh, God. I had 2 bad beats in a row. I was telling these guys. The 7th or the 8th and the 9th race. I had 9-1, drawn off, 6 or 7 length lead. Pletcher's horse nailed him at the wire. A horse who had just won a lousy maiden race and just been gelded. It is a $1.3 million horse they gelded. He came out of nowhere and beat me. Well, the thing you always have to have faith in is the fact that they may be both cold, but it won't be for long. Bill Mott's barn's just not going well right now. It happens, even to the best of them. Pletcher's been incredibly cold, but he won yesterday. He won again today. He's coming back. They haven't even rolled out the 2-year-olds yet. Once Pletcher rolls out the 2-year-olds, you'll see he'll be right back to where he was. Chad Brown hasn't been doing that great yet. But again, as we know, Chad Brown gives up for Saratoga because he's from there. So you can bet by the end of the meet, he'll be right up there for the training title. I'll guarantee you that. It has been very tough so far. But it's Saratoga. The interesting thing to me is that the fact that the meet is so long now, you would think it would be easier because you're not going to have the big fields and for that extended period of time. But so far, they've had nice big fields and they've been tough races. I had a couple good ones yesterday, as Jimmy will attest to, that I listed in my picks that won. But it's Saratoga. But it'll lead. They're going to get their wins before the tournament, before the meet's over. I'll be, John, I'd probably agree with you on that because I was thinking if the meet is longer, the talent gets diluted. There's always plenty of chalk before the meet's over, or horses that you'll get home. I've already had, I had. Yesterday I had a 9-1 and a 6-1 come in. Today I had a 9-1 and a 6-1. By that, they're there. You're going to get your prices. The thing that, when you talk about getting prices home, particularly places like Saratoga, it's class. Where are they coming from? I'm not going to take a short price favorite coming from Parks or, one of the smaller tracks. The Kentucky horses used to be the Churchill Downs Shippers didn't do well. They do now. They do now. Don't underestimate them. Um, the only thing you got to look for is like today. There were a couple of races. There were some short price horses, and they were mainly short because of their connections. Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, But if you looked at the horse, this is where, particularly at a place like Saratoga, I mean, you can get blinded by connections sometimes. You're just presuming that if it's Chad Brown, the horse is going to run. Not always. And maybe there's enough of a cynic in me or whatnot, but I don't automatically push the button if it's Chad Brown. He's got to earn it. I have to see something there. And he had a unit economics he ran yesterday. That horse hadn't run in over a year. And before the layoff, he was okay. He wasn't great. Well, what's to tell you that he's going to be anything better than that? You got to take a leap of faith. Well, I looked at the rest of the field and I said, And that's when I got the 9-1 shot. Because of recency, you saw the form, you trust yourself, you know what to look for. The only thing about Saratoga that's a little different is that horses for course. Horses who run well at Saratoga always come back and run well there. And sires. John Stetton used to do a great piece on that. And he's right. Like stuff like that Speightstown line, Munnings, Speightstown, they Practical Joke, they love it. They get run well at Saratoga. It's the same principle we used with Dan on Bourbon in the Derby with Maxfield, right? Same thing. So when you take those horses seriously, a little more, it may not show up on the form, but you go, boy, he's by Munnings. If you need that little extra something to put you over the top, or maybe include an overlay that you wouldn't normally, that's a reason to do it. And that's when you can make some scores. Let's see. Yeah. John, I'm not the biggest Wesley Ward fan. I'll be honest. I'm not. And I'll tell you why. Most of his wins come in those 2-year-old 4.5 furlong and 5 furlong races because he's very good at training horses to break out of the gate. But there's so many of them who never run back to anything. Yeah. He's the king of Keeneland because they run those 4.5 and 5 furlong races that he can clean up on. He's not automatic at Saratoga. Jimmy Bond is a guy you got to watch out for. I was telling these guys earlier. He's a guy you pay when he's got a horse in the race. Pay attention. Pay attention because he is a long shot trainer. Phil Antonacci is another one. Watch out. Horacio De Paz. Hey, he was not normally a good first-time starter sire. He's got 2 already. What does that tell you? His barn's hot. He's winning outside of races he normally wouldn't win. Jenna Antonucci apparently has some really good 2-year-olds this year. She had that flight line aerial affair yesterday. I'm going to bet that horse back with both hands. Not going to get any odds, but the way that horse ran, when he stretches out, look out. Very important to pay attention to the lesser trainers who are winning. Mark Hennig is a guy sneaky good at Saratoga. He always throws in 1 or 2, particularly when he's got Johnny Velasquez aboard. He's a guy you really got to watch. If you read his PPs and you can see that he's got some intent with that horse, look out. He's another one. He every year. Phil Serpy was a guy always throwing a bomb. Charlie Baker, another one. He trains at Finger Lakes. He's sneaky good. He's very dangerous. not a household name, but he's a very dangerous trainer. Those are the guys you really want to pay attention to. David Donk has already had I think he got one. PJ Quick has had two. See, what those are the ones you want to. Those are the ones that make you money. Is those lesser known guys. For now, Joe. I wish California had a bigger track. It's just Santa Anita and Del Mar. They're so small, you know. I just wish they were bigger tracks. That would make it more attractive to me. But they're great. I mean, I love California. I do. But Breeders' Cup, give me a big track like Churchill Downs or Keeneland or Belmont. That's what I want to see. When they have the Breeders' Cup at Belmont, I'm going to tell you right now, they are going to have the monster Europeans are going to come over for that because they like Belmont because it's a European-style track. Mark my words on that one. Linda Rice always is going to get her wins. But here's the thing about Linda Rice. She made her mark in turf sprints. When they first came out, she was the queen of turf sprints. And she has since expanded her operation, if you will, in some respects. One of the things that she does that she won the training title 2 years ago because she was going down in Kentucky and carpetbagging. She was claiming all kinds of horses out of Kentucky and bringing them to New York. And she was winning a lot of races. So Kentucky, I believe, I don't know if they still have it, but I believe they put a sanction on that so that they have to, if you claim a horse in Kentucky, they have to race there for a year to sort of stop her carpetbagging. But she was still down at Turfway and Churchill and claiming horses and bringing them back to New York, and I guess they maybe relaxed that. They're all going to get their wins. Linda Rice's stable is, certainly she always scratches her horses out of stakes races. She wins a lot of races MTO. If you'll notice, whenever there's a turf race that's oversubscribed and has a bunch of MTO entries, Linda Rice usually has one or two. Because if it scratches off because of the rain, it's an easy win. Linda Rice is a very good trainer, very good at claiming races, allowance races, not a stakes winner. She's geared, much like Alan Jerkins was, she's geared to win on the New York circuit, not the national stage. So when they run those New York races, Linda Rice is very dangerous, and she's always going to be. It doesn't appear like her barn is really hot right now, but that can change at any time. Denmark opening weekend paid good last year, if I recall, but fields end up so small. Denmark or Delmar? I think that's Delmar, right? I don't know many tracks in Denmark, or do they have any Danish racing? I'm just kidding with you, Joe. I'm sorry. Couldn't resist. She seems to be cold as of now. Might be. Yeah. I mean, look, Todd Pletcher, like I said, he's 0 for 37 until yesterday. And he got a win. And he got a win today that broke my heart. That cost me. I had a 9-1 shot in the stretch, cruising. Pletcher was nailed him at the wire. He'll be back. When he starts rolling out the 2-year-olds. He starts rolling up the two. And don't forget, also, you don't see the high-profile 2-year-olds, the real high-profile ones, like you used to. So Saratoga used to be the place. Like, oh, great, roll out. Let's see these high-profile 2-year-olds. Get to watch this one on his way to the Kentucky Derby. You're not going to see him. They're not rolling them out until late in their 2-year-old year or early 3-year-old year. You're going to see a couple, but not a lot. Which means these 2-year-old races, they're more wide open. You can make some scores in these 2-year-old races because of that. If you think about it, I'm going to be watching these 2-year-old races very carefully. But you got a lot of freshman sires too. Early voting, Flightline, of course. Morning, Mo Donegal hasn't been doing much, but I didn't expect it. A bunch of them some of them are early voting's been very precocious. Watch out. I was going early and often. I was all over him yesterday and he scratched. I'll bet him back. First time starter for early voting. Yeah. I know. I hate Joe. I hate autocorrect too. I'm never going to get used to it. I don't, I'm like, just type what I want to type. Don't tell me what I want. You get it. Let's see what John has to say. The track at Saratoga seems to be more fair, but for how long? I think it becomes speed fair. It's speed favoring right now, John. It always is. The difference would be if they don't get a lot of rain. When they don't get a lot of rain, it gets hard and compact, and then it's all early speed. I was talking to these guys last week. I don't know if you were listening, but when we did our show last week, one of the things that bothers me about Saratoga, and it's really nothing they can do anything about, and it's more of a pet peeve of mine, is because it's hot. Saratoga is always muggy and hot. I mean, sometimes it's comfortable, but most of the time it's muggy and it's hot. And I always sit there and I go, when I watch these races and you see these fractions of 21 and 44, I'm like, oh man, they're going way too fast. And it's so hot. That's just my thing. But, when they don't get rain, like when you watch the turf course and you see that dust kicking up behind the horses, that tells you how dry it is. And that's why speed was winning last weekend at Saratoga. Everything on the front end been dry, no rain. They got rain this last week. So it should play a little bare. But it's always speed favoring, but it can be very speed favoring when there's no rain because the track is so hard and it's, but they irrigate. They try to make it fairer so it's not too like California fast. But it's always speed favoring. Now I can't keep this lit. Anything else? What do we got? You guys excited for the Haskell? Anybody got the field, the prospective entrance for the Haskell yet? I know I saw it already. We're running out of questions? Okay. I'll give it another minute, but we will we got the Haskell, so we're going to have the pick 5 from Monmouth. We'll have an individual post on the Haskell. And we will, of course, have Saratoga as well. The full cards will be available on the website. I know some of you guys had problems with it. I would mention to you about if you want to buy a card from my website, I have them available usually late Thursday afternoon or Friday. So sometimes Ernie had a little problem with it because he ordered a card like on Monday, and I think he got the old card from the prior week. So if you do want to order the card, make sure you do it on like Thursday afternoon or Friday. I will post on the channel when they are up and available. And you guys may have seen that. You'll get a notice about that. So I just want to make sure we don't have any problems with that. But let's see. Stay tuned if possible, or we can do it next week. Well, Tyler, you want to bring it up? You can bring it up. Let's see. Jimmy lives in Palm Beach. Never huge. I like Gulfstream. Jimmy, I do. I used to play Gulfstream a lot. I did very well at Gulfstream. I got away from it. Certainly during Derby season, I play it. I don't like playing it in the summer. It's a stupid reason, but the fact that they have racing year round at Gulfstream, I kind of like I like gearing up for specific meets, like the boutique ones, like Ellis Park or Kentucky Downs, or I like playing meet by meet. Generally, in the winter, I do play Gulfstream on the big days: Pegasus, Fountain of Youth, Florida Derby, Holy Bowl, no question. I kind of like Oaklawn, and I tend to gravitate towards Oaklawn a little bit more. I have nothing against it at all. I like Gulfstream. I love Ron Nicoletti and those guys. They're great. Pete Aiello, great caller. I'd like to get on there sometime. I've been, it's on the bucket list. I will definitely be at Gulfstream at some point. But yeah, I have nothing against it at all. I like Gulfstream. Like I say, I used to play it a lot. Let's see. Trying to get. Let's see here. The Puma might be returned. That's right. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Did you see that? You guys see that? The Arkansas Derby is going to be run 3 weeks out from the Kentucky Derby, and the Rebel Stakes is going to be run like 7 weeks out. I don't get it. I don't get why they did that at all. That seems like a really boner move to me. Matt Ditterman, I'm sure, if I could privately ask him, I don't think he likes that. I think they're going to get shitty fields. Okay. Your site is working okay. Well, see, that's the thing, Jimmy. I don't do the Thursday card. The only card I do is for Saturday. So, and I think I say that on the website. If not, I will make sure they update it. I used to do, when I had the time, I used to do the whole meet, and you could buy packages and all. I just don't have the time to do it anymore. So I can only do Saturday. I'm going to type it in for you, Tyler. So the Saturday card is usually available either Thursday or definitely Friday. And I'll post on the website. You'll get an AI image, and I'll say the card is available. But yeah, so if you ever have any problem, any of you guys ever have a problem, you want to buy a race card, and you have a problem, you just reach out to me, and I'll take care of you. If there's any problem, I won't do that to anybody. My email is on the YouTube channel, but I'll give it to you here. There it is, Tyler. Napoleon Solo, Puma. All right, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the Haskell for a second, Joe, and I'm going to get to you in a second. Napoleon Solo, Puma, Commandment, Further Ado, possibly, Ocelli, Blackout Time, Iron On. Blackout Time is very interesting. Remember, Kenny? Remember Tim was talking about that a couple weeks ago. We both had him that day when he came back. He's interesting. I don't see any true speed. I mean, Napoleon Solo, I suppose, would be your front runner, but that's an interesting race. Yeah, might be a pretty good race. Joe Mannix asks, "What are your feelings on the point system for the Derby?" Well, it was a. I think it was a good response to what was a very flawed system, graded stakes earnings. The reason being, a lot of 2-year-olds, horses who won stakes at 2, who didn't pan out at 3, were ending up in the Kentucky Derby. And what that meant was a lot of sprinters with no chance to win the race, which I love because I could throw them out. So the idea behind the point system, I think, was let's get true 2-turn horses. And in a response to the graded stakes earnings, I think it was a good move because now you get rid of all those horses who win the Hutchison or the Saratoga Special, who don't move forward but are eligible to Derby. And so the owner has Derby fever, of course, and they want to put them in. So you don't have those horses anymore. That is a good thing. The problem is, with the point system, the 2-year-old races don't mean anything anymore. And that's why, again, these horses aren't running at 2. And this year is a watershed year. I hope it is. Further Ado ran at 2, but, Commandment, Chief Wallaby, so many of Golden Tempo. Yeah, I know he won, but I mean, you need that foundation that racing at 2 gives you. So, what I would think they have to do is maybe up the point values of the 2-year-old races would help, but not like the 2-turn races, the Remsen, the Street Sense, the Kentucky Jockey Club. Give them a little more weight, and then, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile up the point value a little bit. That might help. It's the best system we have right now. Part of me, as a bettor, I kind of like the graded stakes earning system because there were more horses I could throw out right away. I don't know about you, but that's what I look forward to doing. It's okay. It's not perfect, but I think if they up the point values for the 2-year-old races, I think you get a desired result that we all want, which are horses who have foundation, who can win at 2 turns, and are ready to tackle a mile and a quarter in the Triple Crown. That's my thought. Yeah. I was at that. Laura, I love you, but listen, I am not against. I actually like Further Ado. Now that he's matured, I just didn't like him as a Derby prospect, and I was right. Listen, for the Breeders' Cup Classic, he is going to be a monster. Horse for the course. I mean, but I think he's better than that. I think he's got a really good shot in the Haskell. I do. I got to look at it, but I think he's got a really good shot. I liked what I saw in the Matt Winn a lot. I really did. He's progressing. That's what we want to see. Yeah, that's right, Debbie. That's when Paladin backed out, they had to back him out of the Derby. I think Chad Brown said, "Well, I don't have a Derby horse." Well, we'll give emerging market a shot. They may ruin him. You know, he might get ruined by being sent so early into those races. I don't know. Remember Taba? He won. He came back. He won the Malibu, but he never was as good as he should have been. Um, yeah, they have to do something. They just can't. There's an old. I sent Tim an article from the Blood Horse, and it talked about that the old school way still works. Race at 2, build foundation, race 3 preps at 3, build foundation, and you're going to get a much better Kentucky Derby. Okay, Tyler has sent me his tier list, so we're going to take a look at that in a second. That would be a good compromise with the current system trainers. Yeah, I think so. They've got to give the 2-year-old year more weight. And you know what's going to happen from that? The Champagne Stakes is going to be a fun race again. The Del Mar Futurity. And let's not forget the Phillies races either. The Oaks Preps, the Kentucky Jockey Club, the Street Sense. I mean, you want to see a preview of what's to come for the Derby, right? Make it worth their while. Say, hey, you know what? If you win the Street Sense, instead of 10 points, you get 25. Well, if they get 25 points and then they race at 3, they place in like 2 preps, that's going to get them in the Derby, right? So it's incentivizing them to run earlier. Why not? All right. Let me see if I can pull this up. Tyler has sent me a tier list. Kentucky Derby winners since. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so apparently the criterion as I see it, S is reserved for the best of the best. Save this for the top performers. A, really good horses, but just a step behind the best. And then B, good horses, but getting into above average territory. The horses are organized alphabetically. You click and drag the icons from the bottom into the tier you want to place them in. Use this list for reference. If you're not able to tell, okay. I'm going to share this with you guys. Okay. All right, we're going to share this. Let's see here. Okay. So here we go. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let's see, get rid of this ad if I can. Template has 27 images. Last month, 5. Let's see. First of all, I hate these ads. Okay, let's see. Edit the label text in each row. Drag the images into the order you would like. Tier list maker. All right, I'm just going to say right off the bat that's going to take a lot of work for me to do. I'll do it, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Okay, but I thank you, Tyler. That's a lot of that's a lot of work, but I'll do it. I definitely will. Yeah, I that's what I figured it was. I got you, Tyler. We'll do it. Can't make it. Yeah, we'll get that. That's going to be a lot. Here's what we'll do, Tyler. I will do it. I'll do my list and we'll do it. And I'll bring it up next week and we can talk about it. If that's all right, because it's going to take me a long time to think about that. But that's cool. That's a cool idea. I like it. Let's see. I'm just checking to see if I. Okay. Oh, sure. No, it is fun. Those are great. I love doing stuff like that. I the cool thing about it is the relevance of the last 25 years because for those of us who I've gone back and watched a lot of Kentucky Derbies, but I don't know anything about the fields, the preps, who did what. You know, some of those weird years like '83, like Gato del Sol, or Lily T. Some of those weird ones that it was kind of a funky year. We had three different winners. You didn't, Triple Crown. Those are kind of like, but the last 25, yeah, I could definitely do. Um, Always interesting. Fupeg, Fusaichi Pegasus in 2000, because he won the Kentucky Derby. Never really did anything after that, as I recall. Um, Monarchos, then War Emblem. If he hadn't stumbled at the gate, he would have won the Triple Crown for Bob Baffert. Funny Side, Smarty Jones, Giacomo, Barbaro, Street Sense, Big Brown, Mind That Bird, Super Saver, Animal Kingdom, I'll Have Another, Orb, uh, 2014. That Nyquist? No. Oh, California Chrome, American Pharaoh, Nyquist, Always Dreaming, Justify, Authentic. No. Uh, Country House, Authentic, Mandaloon, Rich Strike, Mage, uh, Mystic Dan, Sovereignty, Golden Tempo. I wasn't reading that. That was off the top of my head. PTF and Duke Matisse from In the Money Network did theirs on a long form video. It was a cool watch. Yeah, okay, sure. Duke Matisse, big time. He's a pro. And a great name, Duke Matisse. How about that guy with you guys ever watch Fat Bald Guy? Keeneland Dan? The guy who does hosts his shows, CC Broadus. Great name for a handicapper. CC Broadus. Sounds like a NASCAR driver. What do you think? Are we there yet? We're gonna do that. That's a great idea, Tally. You know what I think we'll do? Um, Can you put that link in the comments here? Because maybe what would be kind of fun is after we recap the Haskell next week, is maybe everybody gives their list. You guys want to do that? Or just select ones? We'll take a look and see how they stack up. I don't know if I could get them all on the same screen, but at least we could look at maybe one at a time if you want to do that. Something like that. Or at least we just list them. You just type them in and we can all just compare and contrast. Food for thought. Sure. Why not? Then there's ranking the Triple Crown. Remember they had that virtual Kentucky Derby with all the Triple Crown winners, which I thought was cool as hell. Right. Did you put the link on there, Tyler? Okay. You can't copy it. I'll try to do it. Let's see what happens. There it is. Oh, also, I've been reading Tom Durkin's book. Pretty good. He's funny, and how he got into race calling is a pretty cool story. And any assumptions or presumptions you may have about Tom Durkin are all pretty much correct. That's all I'll say. Really, really cool book. I also just received from Jennifer Kelly, who I got to know on Twitter. She has a couple of books, one about Sir Barton, the first Triple Crown winner, and how it all came about with Matt Wynn at Churchill Downs. And I've also got a book about the only father and son Triple Crown winners, who are Gallant Fox and Omaha. And I'm looking forward to reading them, but I just got them. And I'm fairly certain they'll pass muster. And potentially we'll make them available at the store. You can order them from Jennifer and she'll send them. She lives in Alabama. But yeah, I think so, Joe. Why not? I mean, this is my show and you guys ask me questions, but we've all got opinions. No one is wrong. No one is right. I mean, we all have our reasons. I mean, I think it'd be kind of fun. The thing I always like that you guys bring to the fore is stuff I haven't thought of before. I love that. You guys have a lot of good insight, and in turn that nourishes all of us, nurtures all of us, makes us all better. So, I think it'd be fun. Let's see. Let me send you again. Oh, Jimmy, it's my pleasure. I am, as I said last week, I wish I had done this a lot sooner. I really enjoy this. I love talking with you guys. It's, we all feed each other. I like having a familial atmosphere. I wanted, when I started this, to make this a real community where we all talk to each other and we can all share. And a lot of, there's so many sites out there where they have regular contributors and whatnot, but I really put an emphasis on I would like to put an emphasis on us being a group and being a family. Now it's my channel, but I want it to be thought of as our channel, if that makes sense. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, and that's what we try to do. And I think Sundays are fun, because I mean, logistically, it's the only night I can do this, but I like it just because we're all relaxed. It's your week is about to be upon you, and you can just sort of sit back, have a drink. We can, chew the fat, talk about what we love, horse racing. I wish I have thought. I will say this: I have thought um, about trying to maybe do something on like a Saturday night or like a Saturday afternoon. Maybe do like a live show where we're doing the races. I've thought about it. Whether I can do it or not is the real question. It's just the time I have. But it's maybe for maybe the Breeders' Cup or something like that. I think, especially if we have a mutual fund type of betting, then that would be kind of fun. We'll just, if I'm not there, we'll just follow the Breeders' Cup right from here. Yeah, me too, Joe. Hey, I like I said, I don't have all the answers. I don't. I'm a player like you guys. I've been doing it a long time, but betting is definitely something that I feel I need to get better at, and I am endeavoring to do that. And when I have the time, there's some books I have that I want to read they reinforce some ideas I've already had, but I just feel like I could fine tune and get really better at it. I will say this: um, eliminating uh, boxing has really made a difference. Really made a difference. You know, um, and I bet the prices were short in the Indiana, Iowa Derby, and the Cornhusker, but I hit them all, and they were all leveraged exactas, and I hit my number ones. You box, you lose something in the takeout. So when you leverage and it hits, you get paid for it. Mind you, I have to chat about something. Sure, That's it, Debbie. There it is. There it is. Um, I'm, just from my perspective, I live in Rhode Island, and we don't have a race book unless I want to drive to Connecticut, to Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun. So most of my days, when I play the ponies, I'm doing it alone, and so I don't get to talk horse racing like I used to. The old days, I used to be able to go down to Newport Grand, which is a sports book, and I used to talk with the old fellas and had people I could commune with, and I can't do it now. So this is great for me. This is one of the things I love about having an online channel. Is just reaching out and we can all talk about something we love. So yeah, that's the idea. To answer your question as well, I'm very excited for the Haskell. The Puma has been full of time. Yeah, I'm almost there. I'm not there yet with the Puma. I love him as a horse. Listen, that Tampa Derby was sweet, but I still got a little. I'll ask Ramiro Restrepo. I talked to him he's reached out to me, and I've talked to him. I'll ask him how he's doing. See if he tells me anything, and if he does, I'll let you know. I'll post it. You're very welcome, Paula. Listen, you guys help me. You guys feed me as much as I feed you. I want to be very clear about that. I enjoy this thoroughly, and if I've been doing this a while longer than some of you guys, and I can impart something to you, all the better. As I've said before, one of my big things about doing this was giving something back and to teach a little bit. because I think there's a lot of um, it's kind of like I don't know how to explain. It's like some of you guys may remember a movie a long time ago named Chariots of Fire, and it's a great. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. It won an Oscar for Best Picture in 1981. English movie, and it's about Harold Abrams and Eric Liddell, and they were two guys who ran for England in the 1924 Olympics, and England did very well that year. Uh, you know, yeah, yes, Joe, Vangelis, Vangelis, as they call him, right? Um, Harold Abrams was Eric Liddell was a guy who was just sort of a naturally gifted runner, and he was a Scotsman, so I loved him. And he was just a great guy, but he was all in the heart. He had no technique. He was really fast, but he couldn't run any faster because he didn't have good technique. Now, Harold Abrams was a guy who was all about, I want to run as fast as I can. So he enlisted a coach. Ian Holm played this guy, Sam Masabini, wonderful. And he was, and he said, you can run fast, but I can teach you how to run faster because you're overstriding. And he's like, if you take shorter strides, you'll run faster. That's the idea here, is that you're already good handicappers. If we can maybe get you a little bit above that, a little better. If I can help you get there, not to say that I'm better than you are, because I'm not, but I'm like, if we can get each other there. You guys help me as much as I do you. I want to be very clear about that. I am not a guru. So, but that's the idea. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I always end up teaching. No matter what I do, I always end up teaching. I can't tell you, every job I've ever had, I end up training people. And I don't know, it's just a natural. My mother was a teacher, and a very good one too. So my father had all the knowledge. My mother knew how to teach it, if that makes any sense. But my father didn't know how to tell you what he knew. So if anything, I got that from my mother. I got the knowledge from my dad. I can teach it to you. So. Let's see. I can't remember after what prep race I found your channel, but I wanted to talk about the race, and there you were. Haven't said. Well, thank you, Laura. Listen, we're all doing the same thing, right? We're all watching these races. We're trying to get some insight. We're trying to figure out, who we want to bet on, who we want to back. And, if we can have a forum, we can all talk about it and bring up things that now we've got plenty of guys in our group here who would rather comment after I post a video and give their opinion, which is fine, which that's fine. And believe it or not, I do read all the comments you guys make. And there've been some really interesting things, some really interesting stuff that I've never considered. And hopefully I've given you stuff you haven't thought about before. And if we do that, think about how much better we're all going to be. If we all check our egos at the door, we all treat ourselves like we always do here, with respect and not presuming anybody knows anything more than anybody else. Hey, that's what it should be, right? Let's see. Thank you, Jeannie. I feel like I'm back at the OTP. Well, good night to you, Jeannie. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, we got a little bit of, well, like I say, if I can find a Saturday where we can have a live feed, we'll do it. And I'll give you plenty of notice so you guys know. And then it'll be like an OTB. We can all place our wagers together, talk about what we're going to do. Yeah. I very much like to do that. I just it's a question of finding the time and to do it. But yeah, that's the next step. That's the thing we haven't done yet that I think we'd have a lot of fun doing. So that these are all things that I've been thinking about. So rest assured. But uh, but anyway, so what do you think, guys? Are we about there? Do we have anything left? Any other questions? Anything else? I do too. I do too, Laura. Um, I learned one of the things I learned early on about horse racing was from my mother. She was not and all the stuff all the stuff that, all the handicapping stuff, she learned from me. But the paddock stuff, I learned from her. And I don't know that I ever learned anything, but I learned that there's other ways to figure out who to bet on. And I'll never forget, we were at Saratoga one year. I think I told you guys a story. And she used to always love to go to the paddock. So we would always set up. And if you guys have been to Saratoga, you know the walking, once you come out of the paddock and the lane that they walk out towards the track, there's a whole section. And we would sit in that section so she could look at the horses as they walk by. And one year there was a horse, and I'm looking at him and I'm going. And he looks like he was acting up a little bit. But there were people like standing around watching him. And not just the owner and the jockey, just the other people. And all of a sudden my mother goes, I like that one. And I knew when she said she liked him, 60-1, Beth Page Black. I'll never forget that, for Gary Contessa. And what was the angle? You know why those people were looking at him? Horse was being sold. So you knew he was going to run well that day. But she saw that. I didn't. So a different perspective. And I love that. And listen, I got a lot of female handicapping friends, Carson Blevins, Kaylee Shapiro. I mean, okay, what's the video? Well, Tyler, what we'll do is we're definitely going to have the Haskell field is being drawn on Tuesday. So I imagine that's when the past performances will be available. If they are available sooner, you'll have an individual post on the Haskell. We will do one for the Pick Five for the Haskell. We will definitely have an individual post for the Diana at Saratoga. That's one of my favorite races. In the old days, it used to be like one of the first big stakes races at Saratoga. One of my favorite fillies of all time, Intercontinental. Didn't win it, finished second to Wonder Again, I think it was. But I always love the Diana. It's one of my favorite races. So we'll have a post on that. If there are any other stakes races at Saratoga, we'll likely do that. The full card will be available on the website. Best bets, value plays, long shots, and sequences. Likely the Pick Five sequence will be available from the race cards. If you guys don't know, I offer them at rightatthewire.com for Saturday, Saratoga, and they're $9.99. And I think it's pretty good value. You get all my picks. And like I said, best bets, value plays, long shots, and sequences. Aside from the Pick Five, you'll likely get some doubles and Pick Threes that I think are worth taking a look at. So that'll all be available. But we'll be focusing mainly on Monmouth because it is Haskell week. But you'll have all that. As much content as I can give you, time permitting. Let's see. My wife. Hey, sex has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all. It's perspective. It's all perspective, I mean, I haven't met any husband and wife teams yet, but I suspect they're out there that might be pretty good. But it requires kind of that Lennon and McCartney relationship. You got to be humble and respect the other person enough to listen. But I bet they're out there. And if you are out there and you're listening, I would love to hear about it. In fact, I'll get you guys. If you have a husband and wife team, I would get you guys on without a doubt. I would love nothing more than to have that. I think that would be a hoot to talk about. Laura says, I have tried to get my friends into horse racing. No can do, but I will say I find them very annoying when I bring them along. They do go buy the drinks. Well, here's the thing I would say, Laura, that that I Debbie, you're married to Joe? Are you married to Joe, Debbie? And you guys have been keeping that from me all this time? That's a hoot. What I would say, Laura, is I would not push it. Is I think just getting them to the track. So you guys are married. All right, you're coming on next week. That lock. We're going to talk about that. You guys, the two of you, coming on. Can we do that? Absolutely. That's fantastic. I want the two of you. You and okay. Well, it's no secret anymore. I want you and Joe, you and Debbie. I want you guys on next week. I'll send you both the link. You can come on individually if you want, but I think we have to do that. That's great. Laura, what I would say, don't hit them over the head. The first step is taking them to the track, and then let them bet the way they want. Let them just absorb the experience, and then from there, maybe they'll be a little more interested. I found, for the most part, that it takes a very particular kind of person to handicap because of the amount of information you have to disseminate. Um, it, it's not for everybody. Not everybody has the patience and the discipline. Um, I got a friend of mine who's very successful. My best friend. I've known him for 55 years. He couldn't handicap his way out of a paper bag. He's a smart guy. Numbers he can't handle. Can't do anything with them. He goes to Colonial. He lives in Richmond. He goes to Colonial Downs. He's like, Alex, I'm going to Colonial Downs. What can he? What do he got for me? You know, and I'm like, look, I try to explain it to him, and it's like Greek to him. He can't get it. Not for everybody. It's so that's all I'd say. Don't hit him over the head with it. You if you want to be passionate about it, that's enough. It's not. You don't have to be a fisher of men, if you will. you know. But if they come to it on their own, that's when you guys will really have something special. If you try to hit them over the head with it, they'll look at the racing form and go, I can't make any heads or tails of this. But yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, no, as long as it's you guys can make it schedule wise, it can work. But I'd love to have you both on. I think that would be a lot of fun because again, two different perspectives. That would be great. If when it's good for you guys, you let me know. Okay, we'll do it that way. Yeah, that's the thing, Laura. That most now think about it. Most people like easy, right? And believe me, I like easy. As I traverse through my life, aside from handicapping, I like easy. I don't like to be held back. I like, you know, but handicapping is quixotic in some respects. Um, and there's a lot of people who don't have the mind for it. Give yourself a feather in your cap. It's not easy. This is not an easy thing to do. That's why it's hard. I mean, that's why most of us are more wrong than we are right. It's hard. But it's, what was it? It was, uh, there was a movie. I think it might have been Bull Durham. He's like, the hard is what makes it fun. The hard is the fun, right? A lot of people don't want to put the time in. They don't have the mind for it. You know, so that's why I say it's like you shouldn't ever get down on yourself, because if you've taken the journey this far, you're doing something a lot of people can't do. They don't have the patience, they don't have the mental discipline, and they don't have the analytical reasoning. Right? Give yourself credit. This is hard. You got a 20 horse field in the Kentucky Derby that you had to spend essentially 6 months researching for one race. Think how many people would do that? How many people would be prepared to be wrong more than they're right? But when you're right and you make it count, I love that. People used to go, "Oh, you didn't pick the Derby winner. You don't know what you're doing." Okay, you try it. Let's see how you do. They don't know. Most people, this is like, me too, Joe. You're absolutely right. This is like, well, I used to act. I think you guys know that. I used to be in theater. I used to do a lot of theater. Most people outside of the theatrical community don't get them because it's a unique entity that not a lot of people can do well. Right? So they're not going to get it. They're not going to understand. And frankly, I didn't understand a lot of it, but it makes sense to them because that's what they do. So you're in a splinter type of thing. It's just a lot of people aren't going to get it or can't get it. So, I love these people who try to tell, that they love to point out when you don't get it right. And okay, you try it. See how you do. Who cares? So, but yeah, Joe, that's the thing that's appealing to me. You and Debbie, I just want to see you guys like talk about the different perspectives and how I think that's a tremendous asset is the fact that you guys are together and both do it. That's great. That's fun. I could make a separate channel just for you two guys that we could do really well. Husband and wife team. But anyway. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things. It's such a unique endeavor that there's going to be so many people who just aren't going to get it, and it's fine. Okay, good. Okay, guys, you heard it first. We're going to have Debbie and Joe next Sunday. Now, here's what I want you guys to do. Debbie, Joe, both of you. I want you to email me, rightatthewire.com or rightatthewire@gmail.com, and I can send you the link so you can come on. Okay, doesn't have to be right away, just before Sunday, and then we'll be good to go. And I'd love to have you on. That'll be a lot of fun. So that's next Sunday. We're going to have our husband and wife team. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward. That's good. That's a great idea. Thank you guys. Thanks for being willing to do it. That'd be great. And I will. You have the floor. I will be quiet. My brother taught me the basics, but he has left us now. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I think we'll be very proud of how far I have come and that I stuck with it. It's tough as a woman hanging out the race book. Yeah, I know it is. Those guys are tough. The old school guys, they're tough. I know. I got into it with a couple of them in my day. I know. You know that, Laura. It's interesting you mention that, because that's my biggest regret is my father. I didn't get to do this with him because he just wasn't a communicator, and I didn't get into it until after he was gone. He died 30 years ago, and I really regret that. I think he and I could have had a lot of fun together, and that would have been the thing that, I was the second son, so my older brother was and looked just like my grandfather. So, but I really regret that. So but it's nice you had that experience. That's great, and that can keep you moving. And hey, you're sticking with it. You're trying to get better. It's terrific, and it is tough. And let me tell you, I will say this, Laura, you got to be real careful about, they will give you some bad habits, meaning the stinking thinking I've talked about before. Those guys can be really negative, and it's hard. It can be really hard to not get infected with that. I was really big about, like, I don't want to listen to it. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to learn how to do this. And then they were asking me what I thought every day. So that want to be careful about that. Find the guys who are the quiet ones. They're usually the best ones, and then ask them. That's what I would say. I've always been a believer in that. Like, the quiet ones, they're the ones who really know. The ones who are loud and boisterous, they don't. A little advice there. Do I ever fight over a race? Let's see. What do we got here? Let me get this. Got a couple more here. Let's see. Did I ever get into harness racing with second? It's pretty much the same as I understand it, handicapping wise, but I never did. I never got into it. The whole fact that they're limited as to what they can do because they can't run, I'm not against it. I've never done it. Saratoga has a harness track right around the corner from the racetrack, and it's connected to a casino, and Morton's Steakhouse is there. So someday I might go. I might go, but I've never really been into it, to be honest. I've never fought over a race, Laura, and I'll tell you why. And this is something that isn't easy. It's probably the hardest thing that we've talked about before about handicapping is having an opinion. And once you remember, Tim talked about have an opinion and go for it. I'm not going to fight with anybody who doesn't agree with me. Are they going to change my mind? Occasionally, very rarely, but I got to really respect their opinion, and they got to make their case. If they can't make their case, I'm going with what I want to do. And as I always say, and I've had people like, oh, you're crazy, you can't do that. And I go, well, you're welcome to bet any way you wish. Why is it so important what I'm doing? I would question them about that. Why is it so important that the way I bet? Right? Who cares? Bet the way you want. Hey, if you beat me, great. Good for you. But if I stick to my guns, I know what I'm doing. I put in the work. I have a strong opinion. I'm going to beat you nine times out of 10. That's the way I would think. So, no, I would never fight about a race. The time Joe talked you out of Mystic Day. Oh, here we go. Here we go. See, this is what I was thinking. It'd be kind of like the newlywed game. Some of you guys may not remember that, but I bet Joe and Debbie do. Let's see. What's this? They'll double their odds for a group pick 6. Yeah, that's okay with me. That doesn't bother me. Hey, they're both putting in the work. They're both putting the time, and they both have opinions. Doesn't bother me. I never did the dogs. Oh, we opened up a can of worms, didn't we? They never did to me either, Joe. I did play them very, very briefly. It's what Steve Christ started playing. That's what got him in thoroughbreds. Wonderland Dog Track in Massachusetts. It's still there, I believe. Um, the handicapping principles are still the same, but it's there's no glamour to it. I guess is the way I could put it. It's not romantic to me. I I'm a romantic. That's one of the big things about horse racing I love is the romance of it. Okay, 3 hours. I think I got to call it. Life gets in the way sometimes. Guys, this is great. So here's our agenda, just to formally tell you guys. Okay. Okay, I'm going to let you guys talk amongst yourselves. You two will work it out. I don't want to be a marriage counselor next week. So, all right. So, just one more time, Joe, Debbie, email me right at the wire at gmail.com. Just as long as it's before Sunday, I will send you the link and then I'll bring you guys both on and let the chips fall with it. So, we're definitely going to do that next week. So, let's be firm on that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think everybody would like it. You're very welcome, Joe. I was very happy to do it. I have to do my own handicapping before I watch your show. Otherwise, I am convinced. I like what Tim said about removing the morning line. Oh, absolutely. You know, when I handicapped Saratoga for this week, I didn't have the odds at all. And I was stunned about how many overlays I picked, and a couple of them came in. Definitely a great way to go. That'll help you a lot. Or making your own line is a really cool thing to do. Because then when you have your own odds and then you compare it to what the morning line is, that's going to make a lot more sense to you. And there's nothing better in the world when you make a horse on your own line 3-1 and he ends up 15-1. You're like, oh man, I got an overlay. Let's see. Okay. So one more time, Joe and Debbie next week, husband and wife team, and hopefully I won't have to separate them electronically. We'll have Haskell, pick 5 Haskell, Diana handicap for sure, and plenty of content. So Anyway, so I'm going to call it here, guys. This was great. They keep getting better. This was a great. I had my reservations about the show without a guest, but this was terrific. And so we're going to have two special ones next week. And until then, I'll talk to you soon and be well.